Hello Virgo, my name's Jason. This is your September general tarot reading. I've shuffled the cards. Let's get straight into it. Today we have a 5-card spread. I'll explain them as we go. Your first card for today, where you are now, the Tower card. Next card, this is your task for the month of September. Third card, this is your fears. Next card, the best attitude to take for the month of September. And then we have in the center here, the result of your efforts. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so it looks like something's happened or is about to happen. The Tower card here. Now, this is something which has happened or may happen which is out of your control. Okay, so this is where you are now, just about to happen or has just happened. Something quite large has happened and it's out of your control. Okay, it could be in a relationship, or it could be a workplace, it could be a project you're working on, or something perhaps even that's happened around the house. Quite an important thing, and once it's happened, it's gone past the point of no return. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a bad thing, can quite often be a good thing, because when something has to fall, sometimes it's usually replaced by something newer. I'm thinking, for example, when a building collapses or has to get torn down, a new, better one is often put in its place. So that is the existing energy for how we start September, Virgo. Now, your task, it seems, the Ace of Cups, which is really a place to start. So it looks like, because it's an ace, that does actually represent the beginning of something. So you may need to start something from scratch. Now, the Ace of Cups has to deal with emotions, love, and creativity. Now, something's been handed to you from the universe, perhaps connected to this external event of the Tower here. So something's happened here, which is something's gone past a point of no return, but your task here is perhaps to use the energies of this Ace of Cups. So thinking all the time in terms of love, emotions, creativity. Something's beginning here. So this is a great opportunity. Whenever you get an ace, it's usually a great opportunity. Okay, have a look here how it's overflowing. There's so much to give there. It's a great card to have. Okay, so that's the opportunity that the universe is giving you. Now, your fears for the month of September, the 5 of Swords. Now, the 5 of Swords energy, the way I read it, is that this person in front has he's beaten his enemies and they're walking away, slumping away. But look, he's looking behind and he's left a couple of swords behind. Now, it looks like he's won a victory, but those guys are still standing. They could come back and perhaps use those swords against him if he's not careful. But for now, it looks like a victory. Okay, it could be a hollow victory. So there could be people in your environment who might be challenging what you're trying to do, and you might be a little worried that you have to beat them at some kind of game or competition, but you could be a little concerned that you might lose their friendship or lose that collegiality that comes with them. Okay, and so you might have won the battle, but you're scared that you've lost a couple of friends. So just keep that sort of in your background. There's only a fear. Remember, it's just a heads up on what you might need to look at. Okay. Now, the best attitude to take towards September here, towards whatever you need to get moving. Have a look at this. This is the 8 of Swords. This person's bound and tied, but The Eight of Swords is widely recognized in tarot as, well, it's an energy that you've put yourself in. When we're looking at swords, we're looking at a state of mind, decisions you've made which have put you into this position. Good thing about the Eight of Swords here is you can get out of this situation. So if you have a good look at the card here, this person is tied up, but they're not really tied up very tightly. They can wriggle out of this if they like. So just keep that in mind. That's the attitude you want to take into this. You can get out of this feeling like a prisoner if you really want. It's not going to be that hard. It's getting the idea here that you're feeling you might have dug yourself in too deep, and now it might be a bit embarrassing to dig yourself out, or you might have to swallow a bit of pride to do this. But when you do, then perhaps that will go some way to making amends with these people you may have vanquished back here. Keep the attitude here that you've got to get yourself out of feeling a prisoner. Don't feel like a prisoner. You are in control here. Remember, you've got this project, whatever it is, whether it's a personal project, a work project, an emotional project you've got working on, something you're working on spiritually perhaps, to move yourself forward. Maybe you're rebuilding after something quite drastic and serious has happened here with the Tower. Okay, you're trying to get this started, but to do this, you might have to upset a couple of people. So you'll win some kind of a battle, whether it's a moral battle or you might be beating some work colleagues to a new position which has been created at work. I'm getting here. And it might only be a small position. It might only be a temporary thing. But to do so, a couple of other people, a few other people, even perhaps one person might just be feeling a little sort of chagrin there. That said, these people can come back. Maybe this position or temporary victory you've had will last for a certain amount of time, and then someone else might get another crack at it. Okay, so that's just what I'm getting there. So perhaps it's a position which has come up at work, and there might be some trial period, say 3 months or a month or however it is. But for now, it looks like you might be scared of winning that victory because you might lose your friends. And depending on where you are socially, we all know what it's like, especially when we're young, to have to move on somewhere else and make a decision which might alienate a couple of friends. Well, that's what we think anyway. So remember, this is just about perception. It's not necessarily reality, okay? Remember, the swords are really about perception. They're about what's going on in your mind. The same thing with the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords, you're feeling like a prisoner somehow. You're feeling trapped or controlled by someone. Perhaps it's time to make a stand and say, well, hang on a minute. If I'm going to be in charge here, if I'm going to get this thing off the ground, if I'm going to move forward with whatever, I've got to get out of this mindset. I'm in charge of my own destiny here. Perhaps that's what this message is. Now, if this plays out the way it does, and you take this attitude that you're going to get out of here, loosen off these loose bandages here, it might be a little bit embarrassing, but it might take a bit of swallowing some pride to get out of here, then the result can be the King of Swords. Now, the King of Swords represents a chance to be a decision maker. This energy is very strong. The King of Swords, sometimes I'm reminded of the story of Alexander the Great, how all the other generals or leaders who had come before him to try and get into the gates of the city of Gordia, they had to untie a knot, and the knot was so complex no one could actually untie it. Alexander the Great just came along with his sword and just cut it with his rope and got into the city that way. Cut it with his sword and got into the city that way. So that's the kind of energy I'm feeling with the King of Swords here. You will have that authority to start to wield things and direct things from a position of strength and make a lot of important decisions which perhaps before you felt bound that you couldn't make. And looking at this story here, it's actually looking like quite a good story. You've got here something has fallen, you want to rebuild it again, whether it's a work project, whether it's something emotional, maybe you're coming out of a hard relationship and you're trying to rebuild yourself. There might be some relationship issues with some people where you're worried that you will upset them if you go a certain way or start seeing someone or stop seeing someone. Maybe there is some family involved, I'm seeing here also. So maybe you need to walk away from a family situations. I'm thinking here that there was maybe some very close ties to a family with your partner. You're very close to their family, but the relationship had to come apart. And when the relationship came apart, you've got to try and rebuild, but you've got to try and do it without these people who may have been they were in your camp, but you're just worried that they might not be in your camp anymore. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Uh, don't feel like a prisoner there. Loosen these shackles. Do what you need to do. Don't worry about what these other people do. Put yourself first. And when you do, you'll be in charge of these decisions. You will feel so empowered by this. That's if it's a relationship issue. If it's a work issue or a project issue, I'm getting the same narrative here. It's all looking fairly straightforward, really. So please don't be afraid of the tower. The tower is usually something that's out of your control, out of a lot of people's control, but it's always a chance to start again. It looks like what you've got here. So really encouraging reading. And if you just get yourself out of this position here, don't be bound by other people and perhaps losing some friendships. If you're going to lose this friendship over this, well, perhaps the friendship wasn't that strong anyway. Okay, try to think of it that way. But you have to get out of your self-imposed prison here. This is all self-imposed, all right? And when you do, you're going to make it. You're going to be able to make these decisions so much more effectively and feel so much more confident about it. And you won't be stuck in this energy anymore. You will be deciding from a position of strength for yourself. So that's a pretty great positive reading, really. I'm very happy with that one, Virgo. I hope the challenges for you are not so great in September. I'm really hoping that you don't fear too much about losing friends. I really hope you can get out of this self-imposed prison here to come into your strength here and have this energy of the King of Swords. That's all I have for you for September. Please let me know, like and subscribe and comment about how this plays out, even if it's towards the end of September and you start reflecting on perhaps this reading. I'd really appreciate the feedback. So have a nice month.